humor makes the majority of people feel good. But if you feel bad about something that most people find amusing, the question isn't, why is what I said wrong? The question should be, why don't you think what I said is amusing?
Okay.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Light. Brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. You're going to hear a little mic noise here. I'm getting this. Don't edit that out. It makes it
situated.
Yeah. Anyway, where was I? Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. As always, we are in the high-rise white brick edifice situated in the library studio. And PJ, you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed this morning.
Am I?
Your hair looks dapper.
Does it?
Yeah.
So it's getting way too long.
It's long.
I got like a Jimmy Neutron thing going.
Yeah, you do. You do.
It took me probably 15 minutes to fix my hair. Normally it doesn't take me that long, but I could not get it to do what I wanted it to do. And then I had to rewash it and put product back into it to get it to where it is right now. And I'm just not happy with it yet.
So you had a long morning this morning.
Yeah, frustrating morning.
Right.
Leslie's going to cut my hair though after work.
Oh, okay.
So I can
there you go.
Get it to where I can style it.
Okay. Well, I think it looks good.
Oh, thank you.
So anyway, got a couple things I want to talk about today, and so we'll just jump right in. Okay.
Let's do it.
First of all, I don't know how we did this, and I think you know what I'm about ready to say because I mentioned it.
And when you say we, don't put me in that group.
This podcast is a team effort, brother. You know, it feeds off your creativity and my creativity. You know, there's been times when you've had an idea that we've implemented and it's been great, and likewise me, and then things we come up with together. But we, okay, I'm not just saying you. I'm saying we somehow missed the Super Bowl edition of Law Light. We had done that 2 years running, and this would have been 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is, for those that have listened faithfully through from beginning to end, know that when Super Bowl rolls around, we bring people in and we ask them a lot of questions about the Super Bowl, the teams, the bets, the things like that. And they've been good shows because we shuffle people in and out of here. Last week, we talked about wills and trusts and importance of estate planning, which is good, but it just
ironically more interesting to me.
Yeah, than the Super Bowl. Well, and maybe that's why I think what happened is you remembered it and you're like, I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl.
The truth to that is actually further away from that. I didn't know the Super Bowl was Sunday until Saturday night.
Okay. Well,
because somebody posted about it, and I went, wait, tomorrow's the Super Bowl? I mean, I saw the stuff about the halftime show and, all the OG R&B and rap artists coming out and, and how
Death
people
Row Records.
Yeah, everybody was making fun of my generation because those are all the people I grew up on.
Well, I saw a meme that, showed a picture of all the people that were going to be on the halftime show. And at the top, it said, if this year's halftime show excites you or you're stoked about this year's halftime show, then at the bottom it said, it's time to schedule your colonoscopy.
Yeah, I saw that
So
too.
First of all, did you watch the Super Bowl?
No.
None of it?
No.
No, not even the halftime show?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'll eventually watch the halftime show on YouTube.
Have you read about or heard about the halftime show?
The only thing I know of that's popped up is that I guess Eminem took a knee, and they told him specifically not to. But I mean, let's be honest, it's Eminem. He's going to go against the grain.
If that's the worst thing that Eminem does when you tell him not to, then it's a good day.
Right.
Right.
And then, of course, all these news outlets making a thing about Snoop Dogg smoking a joint before he gets up on stage. It's Snoop Dogg.
Right. Well, what do they expect?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
that's what Snoop is known for. It's a slow news day when your biggest headline is that Snoop smoked a joint.
as if we're shocked.
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen, and that's the funny thing. I don't know anyone who is shocked or appalled by the fact that he.
Well, okay, so let's just move on.
Yep.
Back to the Super Bowl. One of the things is that everybody knew. Because it had been, they had given teasers about who was going to be, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop, Mary J. Blige, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar. Okay, everybody was expecting because they had done like little teaser trailers leading up to the Super Bowl,
Right.
But here's what's interesting. About 2 or 3, maybe 4 minutes into the act, Snoop and Dr. Dre are like up on top of this stage that kind of looks like a house, okay? They kind of made this like makeshift house with steps going down into different rooms and things like that. And they kind of come down and they bow down onto the ground, and then the camera pans to the floor below. Everybody's like, well, who is that? Because it was, and it was 50 Cent. And there has been some jokes. He doesn't, 50 Cent was kind of known for having like a build, like he was a ripped dude, and he, well, some of the comments are that 50 cents more like $1.50.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Have you seen that? Yeah. He didn't quite just. I thought everything was good. It was Death Row Records. It was the guy, Dre's group, except I didn't feel like 50 Cent just fit in. It was just he was out of place.
I saw some memes where it's like, I can't give you a Tupac Shakur hologram, but I'll raise you an upside down 50 Cent.
Yeah. Of course, they did a tribute to Tupac with doing California. Of course, the Super Bowl was played in California. So
right.
Do you even know who won the Super Bowl?
Wasn't the Bengals? I know that it was whoever the other team was. Okay. I can't remember who the other team
Rams,
was.
right?
Okay,
the Los Angeles Rams, right?
Right.
So
I guess that makes sense why it was in California.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it was. That's just. It's kind of weird how that works the last 2 years. The Super Bowl, like the NFL knows where the next 3 Super Bowls are going to be played. Okay.
Right.
I don't know where they're at, but I can guarantee if you went to NFL.com, it would tell you that next year's Super Bowl is going to be here, the next year's going to be here, the next year's going to be here. Okay, so they have them set up years in advance. And last year, the Super Bowl was scheduled to be played in Tampa Bay. Well, Tampa Bay played in the Super Bowl. They made it far enough, all the way to the final game. So it was a home game for them. This year, it's scheduled to be in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, and this had been scheduled 2 or 3 years ago. And doggone if the LA Rams didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So 2 years in a row, there's been like this home team advantage. And so there's this joke, that if that they're going to schedule it in Minnesota, in Minnesota's home stadium, because Minnesota would never make it to the Super Bowl. It's like we're safe. But anyway, it was a good game for those that are sports enthusiasts. We apologize to our listeners for not having a Super Bowl show. It would have been greatly entertaining, I'm sure. We'll have to discuss whether next year we miss it intentionally, like if we just kind of let the Super Bowl edition die, or whether we
just come back bigger and better with it.
We could
actually get someone from the team to call in on the podcast.
Or maybe we'll do that.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
Or we'll get 50 Cent,
$50
to talk about
from the ceiling.
Here's what I think is interesting about all that. So, I've seen people posting about, I guess there's been a lot of comments that were made about Mary J. Blige's thighs, or how 50 Cent has gained weight, and I guess there's been a lot of jokes and things like that. I've seen a whole bunch of people posting these like anti-bully messages on Facebook. Like, I grew up and all my friends, we were really close. We'd do anything for each other, but we razzed each other. and we made jokes, or we would never intentionally like try to bully someone to the point where they're gonna commit suicide. We would, and I know that there are incidences like that out there that do exist where kids, especially nowadays, and that seems to be
too far.
Yeah, and that seems to be like I would say a newer development, probably within like the last 15 years or something. Is like you see that escalating. So I know it does happen. I know what it's like to be an outcast. I got made fun of in school growing up. I was the fat kid. I mean, I got heavily bullied, especially through middle school. Like up through middle school is probably, and that's when I started to turn things around on my own. And I know what it's like to feel left out and to go home crying and to be upset and to be really hurt. But at no point was I ever like, I'm going to just end it all because this is all there is ever going to be. So I think there's more going on there, like probably some depression, some other mental health things happening that I wasn't suffering from. But at the same time, and I'm not advocating that bullying is okay.
I think there's a predisposition. And when I say predisposition, some people, when receiving bullying, are going to react in a certain way where others will react totally different. Okay?
Right.
So it's the receptors of bullying. It's never right to just treat somebody like an animal or to
Absolutely.
It's just never acceptable. Certain people are going to receive that and say, well, then I'm changing this. You know, kind of like the classic movie about this is Karate Kid. They bullied the kid and he taught himself karate, and with Mr. Miyagi's help, right? And he turns it around. He responds to the bullying with a positive outcome, learns a discipline, and then goes and, beats them up, right? I mean, in a competition. But there are certain people who are predisposed that can't get out of that cycle. There are those personality types, whether it is because of an illness or whether it's because there's nobody else around that can pull, and it does lead to serious issues. The thing for our educators and the thing for the people that are in a position to control bullying is that you never know who the person is and what their response to it's going to be.
Right.
Okay. And so you can't you have to be vigilant. You have to be prophylactic to prevent and protect against it. But it's like everything else. There are those that take this to far extremes, and what they define as bullying, is not bullying. It's not. It is a comment that is true, and people don't like to hear the truth,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry. If you're going to put yourself in the bubble, in the glass bowl, in the fish bowl, if you're going to put yourself up in front of everybody and you're going to get paid $1 gazillion to do it, then you better be ready for some criticism.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I don't call that bullying. You've put yourself up there. Great. You're getting paid a lot of money to get up and dance and sing at halftime. And, I didn't think twice about her thighs or whatever. I didn't think about it at all. In fact, you know what I thought? I was like, man, she's got some really long hair, and that's what I thought.
Right.
And I was like, man, she still sounds great. If you're up there and you're going to dress a certain way and it's going to point toward your thighs, then if somebody says, gosh, your thighs look a little thick, you're going to have to live with that, and I'm sorry. I mean, if that makes me a bully, no, it's a fairly, if you're up in front of everybody, they're going to say what they think, right?
Yeah.
And if you're an entertainer or an athlete or a filmmaker, you have to be ready for some criticism.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because this gets brought up a lot, especially I would say within like the last 5 years. There's people out there, these artists who will put these long drawn out posts where they're upset because they're being criticized. I almost never comment because the reality is it goes into exactly what you just said. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world.
No.
If we lived in a perfect world, you'd never be criticized. There wouldn't be someone out there calling her Mary J Thighs instead of Blige.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. So, but that's not the world that we live in. Is it right that people get teased or joshed or made fun of? Not necessarily. I don't think it's all coming from a bad place. And therein lies the problem. There's this all or nothing mentality. And I'm not going to say it's for everybody, but I think it's probably more of a minority than it is the majority of people. But like, I've made fun of celebrities. I've made fun of total strangers and joked about people. I made fun of Jimmy on the podcast.
Right.
And only recently have I really talked to Jimmy. But the thing was, none of that was coming from a place of malice, right? Like, I wasn't trying to hurt anybody's feelings. If I did hurt his feelings, I'd apologize. But at the same time, I think it's kind of like 50 Cent. Like, 50 Cent probably lives in a big mansion. He has an incredible career, and he doesn't give a if some random dude in a trailer somewhere is making fun of his weight. Yeah, right. He doesn't care.
That's right. I agree.
You know, so I think what's happening is a lot of the people that are voicing these opinions, whether it's their artists who are being criticized and can't handle it, or if it's people who can't handle other people being criticized. And I'm not saying you can't be sympathetic to other people, but at the same time, it's most of the people I know of that voice their opinions are doing so radically. And I think that's coming from a place where there's more going on there than just you being upset that somebody made fun of 50 Cent's weight.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's kind of, it's gonna sound like a horrible way of putting it, but it's kind of your problem. It's like there's something there that you need to come to grips with or terms with or work on. Do I think that you should be criticized or have your feelings hurt or any of that stuff? No, I don't think you should. But you need to just come to terms with the fact that it's going to happen. If you can't handle it, then you're just going to have a very, very difficult time going forward doing what it is that you're doing.
Right.
Because I've been heavily criticized with the film projects and stuff that I've done. I've had some horrible things said. And occasionally, yeah, it stings. What I have learned is that after exposing myself to that and persevering through it, I've grown a thick skin. And sometimes, even though it stings, it's also constructive. Mm-hmm. And I ask myself, okay, well, there is actually some truth to what they're saying. So how do I take this nugget of truth and do something about it and make a change to make myself better than what I was last time?
Well, when I was in college and I was on the debate team, we had a coach that told us of something I've never forgotten. And she was like, no matter who it is, whether they've been debating for a day or whether they've been debating their entire life and are a coach and have taught it and coached it and judged it, and no matter who it is, when you're at these tournaments or when they give you some feedback, criticism, advice, listen to it, process it. After you've done that, if you believe that there's something helpful in it, then take that and use it. If not, you've given yourself an opportunity to at least consider where you could get better. She was right. There would be people that say stuff, and I would be thinking to myself, you have no clue, right? But I had to learn to listen, because every now and then they would give you a nugget or something, and you'd be like, oh, gosh, even though it didn't feel good to hear, boy, by the next round, you're doing exactly what they told you to do.
Absolutely.
And so, and the other thing, and I had no idea the Super Bowl discussion was going to get into bullying or things like this, but this is why we have a podcast. But
right.
The one thing I think is funny is that okay, so it's kind of the rat, the what is it? What's the saying? Somebody chasing its own tail.
Is it a rat chasing its, or is it a snake chasing its own tail?
I don't know.
Or is that the snake eating its own tail?
I don't know. It's but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm critical of you for whatever, right? And I make it publicly known that PJ's movies are a bunch of trash. He's just
right. Well, the truth finally comes out.
Okay, so I say that. So somebody sees me say that or hears me say it, and they say, well, Travis Holtree, man, he has no filter and he has no right to be talking about people this way, and he's actually just a dumbass, right?
Right.
Okay, so you're bullying the bullier who bullied, right? And so then, right, and isn't the problem with this is that it's secular and it doesn't get us anywhere, right? Okay, yes, we need to stand up to true bullying, but sticks and stones may break my bones type action. We just need to shut up.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. Just shut up and mind our own business. Go about our own work and carry about our own problems.
Right.
You know, if we would, instead of pointing out that somebody's thighs are a little bit big, okay, well, if we would concentrate on our own health, maybe we'd be a more healthy generation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I just say that to say, you know, we just need to be quiet. Just go about our own business, you know? I mean, so anyway.
Well, I mean, I've made fun of other people who are fat or fatter than me, but I'm fat. You know, so it's like
you're a safe zone, right?
Right.
It's like, I can say this,
and I'm not saying it's like it's kind of the adage, you know, where, you know, if you're Jewish, it's okay to make fun of Jewish people, because if you aren't Jewish and you make fun of a Jewish person, that's what considered anti-Semitic or whatever.
Right.
But the thing is, it's like the way I look at life is that anything can be made fun of. Sure. I mean,
because everybody has an opinion.
I've had people that are very close to me pass away, and I make jokes about it because that's my way of coping with a lot of things. I was making 9/11 jokes the day after 9/11.
You're terrible.
But
a bully.
But once again, it's
bullying,
and that's the
nation.
thing, though. It wasn't like I'm not making these jokes because I'm trying to hurt somebody's feelings. I'm making these jokes because they're funny. I find humor in anything, and humor makes you feel good. I would say the humor makes the majority of people feel good. But if you feel bad about something that most people find amusing, the question isn't why is what I said wrong? The question should be, why don't you think what I said is amusing?
Okay.
You know, that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've stood in a group of 10 people and I've made a joke. I mean, it could be about like anything, bleached buttholes or something, right?
PJ.
Just, hey, that's a thing. That's like
okay, no, I don't want to. Okay,
thing.
stop right now. Let's
anyway,
move on.
so I'll make a joke about that, right? And 9 people will laugh, and 1 person will be offended. I'm supposed to change everything about me and stop making jokes like that because of the 1 person who is offended in the group? No. To me, I'm looking at the 1 person who is offended going, why are you offended? Mm-hmm. Why are you upset? Everybody else is having a good time. Why aren't you having a good time? Let's talk about what your issue is.
It goes back to what I said, though. It goes back to you have to remember the receptor. You know, in car wreck cases, there's an adage, you take your plaintiff as you find them, okay?
Right.
So I don't get to choose who I hit. When I run that red light, I could hit somebody that is as fragile as an egg, and I could crack them bad, right?
Right.
Or I could hit some guy that's in great physical shape, and he just has a little bit of a problem, and he can dust it off. I don't get to pick who I hit, and whoever you hit, you take them as you find them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you throw those words out there, the receptors are going to be different. 9 people are going to hear that and think it's humorous, but 1 person's not. And the point I'm making is that we got to be careful in being critical of the person that's doing the bullying. We got to be careful about how we go about that, because and it gets back to, you know, yes, there's a place for humor, and yes, but really, is it our place to be talking? You know, is it our place? What gives us to be the person that's casting a criticism here? Okay,
right.
Now, I mean, and we could get this, fans of sports. You know, I pay my ticket money. I can be critical of my team, right?
Right.
I don't know. I'm just saying that a lot of times it could all be remedied by just not saying anything, you know. And why do we feel we have to post it and things like that? But I want to switch topics. I got something hilarious that's happened to me. And it's happened to my wife, and it's happened to some friends of ours. Starting last week, I began getting text messages from God.
I saw Missy post about that.
Right. Missy did. Her friends gotten it. Her sister's gotten it. A couple of our kids have gotten texts from God.
Okay.
Mine started on Friday evening at around 8 o'clock. And it said, "Thanks for talking to me today, God." It's a 270 number, so I have a tall flash for you. God
is local.
Is in Kentucky. I've run reverse on the number. I can't find it. I have no idea. So Saturday at 4:20, I thought that was funny. I get a text that says,
"Herbs are good."
I make herb. It says, "Scratching your head yet, God?" Like, have you figured this out? And it's real. And I'm like, no. So Monday this week, I get a text message from God again. It says, "Hi, Travis." So they know me by name. And so I reply finally. I say, "Hi, God." Right there.
Huh.
And
no response yet.
No response yet. So I don't know. This has happened to, here's the people I know it's happened to in my circle, okay? It's happened to Missy. It's happened to Missy's sister, Missy's best friend, Missy's best friend's husband, me, and 2 or 3 of our kids, of my kids, the girls. That's all I know.
Is it the same number for everybody?
Same number for everybody. And sometimes it has got a hyphen, God, like that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, not on any of mine, but it has the little squiggly hyphen. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
So I don't think it's a robot either.
Have you tried calling the number to see what happens? Will it go to God's voicemail?
I have no idea.
You should put it on speakerphone and call the number right now on the podcast and see what happens.
All right. Well, let's do this.
It's going to answer back, "Hello." Yeah, you all are the only people I know that is happening to. So I can only assume that it's someone who knows you all. Right now, whoever it is like, "Oh, crap. I'm going to get sued." I mean, I seriously doubt they'll answer.
The Google subscriber you have called is not available. Please leave a message after the...
Google subscriber.
I don't think God uses Google. He uses Bing.
G-O and G-O is GOG instead of God.
Goo-goo.
Goggle.
Googly.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they don't have a voicemail. God doesn't have a voicemail. He doesn't need voicemail. He hears everything at all times.
True. If he had voicemail, though, it would be so full. It would be like this voice. Eventually, be like this voicemail box is full.
Anyway, I wanted to share this just to see if anybody else has got.
I don't know of anybody else. I saw Missy.
That's like Mary Jo Blige.
Yeah.
Is Mary J. Blige? Does the J stand for Joe?
I don't know.
Let's find that out. I think it does. That's why I called her that.
It's not Mary J. Thighs, though. But yeah, I saw Missy post about being contacted by God, and I thought that was funny.
Oh, it's not. It's Mary Jane.
Oh, Mary. Well, big surprise there. Wasn't Mary J. Blige Biggie's girlfriend?
Yeah,
when he was still kicking.
Anyway, so the last thing I want to talk about, and this is just as we go out, we're segueing some marketing stuff for the firm, and I wanted to. Now we're moving. The first couple of months we've been on the foundation of excellence, which is the F of FWH, okay?
Right.
And now we're moving into the W, which is work ethic.
Winners.
Work ethic. Winners is, we could have done that, but and maybe we'll do that next year when we have to come up with a night. But work ethic. And one of the things that we're going to discuss over the next couple podcasts is what work ethic looks like. We're going to identify some moments from our past where we've seen an unrivaled work ethic and what that means, what it looks like, how we try to foster that type of attitude around here. So that's sort of where we're headed, both with marketing outside the firm, but also we'll discuss it here on the podcast. I am proud to say that the people I work for are hard workers. I see everybody most of the time a selfless, how can I help, what can I do attitude. And it's refreshing to work with people like that. We're all human and we have our days. On the most part, man, around here we have hard workers, And
I agree.
So we're going to talk about work ethic for the next couple podcasts, maybe get a few people in to talk about what work ethic means to them and why they work so hard and what that means. So that's sort of a preview of coming attractions, where we're headed with the podcast. Also, we're looking into some big opportunities for the podcast that we hope to share here in the next 3 to 4 weeks about some opportunities we may have here in town. So we're heading in the right direction. Anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
Nope, I think that pretty much covers it.
Well, we have
Don't bully.
And watch your phone for text messages from God.
That's right.
If we hadn't spent so much time on bullying and Super Bowl, I would have liked to go a little further into this because you don't believe in God. That I know of.
I'm agnostic. I think that there is something, or the possibility is there. I just can't say for certain because I've never been dead.
Would getting text messages from God help you lean one way or the other?
No, I would just be like, it's some random Google subscriber. And see, that's the thing. So I've started, I've been going to church with Leslie, and she's Baptist. Her and I have had a lot of long, drawn-out conversations about about religion. And I've actually brought up the fact that one time you and I had that like hour and a half long conversation about religion, and she even has me set up with somebody she knows who is a pastor because she really wants. She says he's one of the most knowledgeable. Biblically knowledgeable people that she's ever known. You know, she thinks that this guy will really get a kick out of talking to me because, no pun intended, I'm very much devil's advocate when I talk about religion.
Right.
And I usually have a lot of questions that either can't be answered or I think I make surprisingly good points. The problem is that those points seem to work against the concept of faith, because a lot of it's like, well, you just have to have faith. And the problem with me is that, like, for one, that's what I lack, because faith in a lot of ways is blind. And I know people say this all the time, like, I've felt God's presence, or I've spoken to God, or I know for a fact there is a God. And I don't know how you can know that, because he's this invisible, ethereal being, and you've never been dead before. So I don't know how you know that. People say, well, it's a feeling. I know it. And I'll be like, well, that's interesting, because there towards the end, my grandmother knew she was talking to her dead brother who'd been gone for 40 years. I sat there and watched her have full-blown conversations with no one because she knew he was standing right there talking to her. Inevitably, someone's going to go, well, how do you know that he wasn't standing there talking to her? But the thing was, is she suffered from dementia, so that was all in her brain. Right. Reality is only what your mind allows it to perceive.
Right.
You know, I believe in Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and things like
them.
that, but I've never seen them, so I get it. But my argument for that is that Bigfoot's just an animal, and we know animals exist.
Right. Well, I've had a very interesting conversation with you about this. I think you have a lot more faith than you believe you do. At some point, the faith has to win over proof. And I'm not saying that just about you. I mean, that's what has to happen. For those who do believe strongly in God, they have relented and said, okay, so I'm going to put my faith in this, because I think that we put our faith in a lot of things every day that we don't see, and we have faith.
I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? And so the sort of the premise upon which we had our discussion was don't you have faith in other things you don't see? Right. And so then it becomes, well, yeah, but we're talking about faith in, to say there is a God, or have faith in God as being my total plan. You mean we're talking about creating an earth and all the things in it and on it and around it, and the sun and the sky and the moon and the galaxies and all that.
Right.
To say that there's some spiritual being that can and did do all that, I mean, that takes a lot of faith, right?
Right.
And so that's where I think the issue is for you, or folks like you, is that, okay, so I have faith that when I flip a light on, the electricity is going to provide light. If I'm wrong about that, I'm in a dark room, right?
Right.
Okay, that's inconsequential, really. Saying put all of your faith in this God as being that's the plan for whatever after this life, or that kind of thing, it does take a lot. It takes a lot. I grant that.
Yeah.
But anyway, this, golly, I could talk about this forever.
Right.
I do want to know. I do want to find out who this pastor is or preacher is. Or
his name's Kenny.
Okay.
I can't remember his
You got
last
to go
name.
into it with the right attitude. You can't. You see, you're already bitter about it. It's Kenny. Some guy named Kenny. Your attitude should be,
what is a guy? His name is Kenny.
His name's Kenny.
He looks like a nice guy.
Looks like a nice guy. There we go.
He is a wrestling coach. I want to say he might be the wrestling coach for OHS.
He may
so I'm going to watch myself.
He may make you believe.
That's true.
It's like, I am going to force you into submission. Say there is a God. Say there is a God.
He's bigger than me,
monkey
too.
Work, monkey work.
I don't know. I guess the way I look at it is it's one of two things, and this is why I'm on the fence either way. It's everything is either an incredible accident or it's intelligent design. It's one or the other. And truthfully, I think either one makes it special. Well, in some ways, I think if it was an incredible accident, it's even more special.
Intriguing.
That's how I look at life anyways. If you look at the chances of you being born are like 1 in 400 trillion, right? So you're already incredibly rare.
An odd breaker.
You thought I was going to go somewhere else with
outlier.
that, didn't you?
No.
You're like, he's going to start talking about conception and all this other gross stuff.
Well, you probably would if I gave you more time. This has been Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. We appreciate our listeners. If you need more information about the firm, check us out on our website and all the platforms of social media. Until next time, thank you.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery of a sham, of a mockery of a travesty of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!